Hello, welcome to Rodney's blog. Today we will be exploring Genesis chapter 3, the fall of man. So let's just dive right into it. In verse 3, chapter 1, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? So right off the bat here, a lot of questions come into mind with God and the Bible, the serpent, the woman. Um, how is it that a serpent can talk to a woman? Why is it that the woman doesn't seem very surprised that she's being talked to by serpents? Did animals talk in those days? Is the serpent symbolic of the devil? Was it the devil who? And all kinds of questions come up, and scholars have been kind of going over that for years. And there's a couple different theories that have come out. I'll share just a few of them today. One of the things is that the devil himself has been referred to throughout the Bible as the ancient serpent and the dragon. So it very well could have just been the devil in his natural form there talking to Eve. Others have said, well, I mean, it's been also shown in the Bible that demons can go into people's bodies, into animals' bodies. So he could have been, possessed, and the devil was speaking through the serpent. But then why does it say the serpent was crafty? Being crafty isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means it's just how you use your craftiness. In this case, he used it in a bad way. So those are all different things that we can, just think off right off the bat in chapter in verse 1 there. And verse 2 says, the woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden. You must not touch it or you will die. So, Eve corrects, the serpent there. And then in verse 4, you will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. And this is basically the art of lying. You tell the truth and you mix it in with some lies, and it's just a very skillful way to lie, basically. And in reality, it's true. She wasn't going to instantaneously die when she eats the fruit, but in a matter of speaking, she will die because now she won't be able to, eat from the tree of life and live forever. So I mean, there's some truth in that. And continue in verse 6. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. So basically, what happened up until that time, the man and the woman were a lot like children, whereas they were innocent. They could walk around naked and feel no shame, just the way a child would, or a baby. And it was normal, and there was no shame in it, and there was nothing wrong with it because they had the heart of a child, so to speak. And then that all changed as soon as they disobeyed God. And in verse 8, then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God who was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord called to the man, where are you? So the fear entered. And then in verse 10, he answered, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from? The man said, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it. So this is the man not wanting to take responsibility for his part in what he did. If he really truly loved his wife, he would have stopped his wife, and he was, hey, don't eat that. I don't want you to disobey God. This is wrong. He would have taken a leadership role there and really taken charge and be able to protect his wife, protect himself, and from what happened there, and he didn't. So he's just basically just throwing his wife under the bus there. And verse 13, then the Lord God said to the woman, what is this you have done? The woman said, the serpent deceived me and I ate. So the same thing with Eve, not wanting to take responsibility for her part. She threw the serpent on the bus, and said, oh, it was him. In verse 14, so the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all the days of your life. So God cursed, all of all the serpents. In verse 15, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. So basically, have you ever noticed that generally speaking, most women get creeped out by snakes and serpents? Well, God put enmity between womankind and serpents, so that could explain it. And verse 16, to the woman he said, I will punish your pains, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. Your painful with painful labor you with painful labor you will give birth to children. So up until that time, most likely it wasn't very painful to give birth, and that all changed. Continuing, it says, your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. So right there, it could be that up until that point, the man and the woman were equal in a lot of ways in leadership. And he put a desire in a woman's heart to want to be led by a man. And that's what a lot of people believe. Like if you're a woman and you're in a relationship where you have to make all the decisions and your husband is not stepping up and taking charge, it's a very frustrating way to live. You want a husband who's going to take charge and take care of you and take care of the bills and bring home the bacon so that and someone you can trust that's not going to, fall behind on the mortgage. And so you want somebody who's capable and someone who can lead, and that's why women go after successful men. And sometimes when you do have that relationship where the woman has to be the one to take on a responsibility, it's a very miserable existence because God put a desire in them for a man to rule over them. So that's the what God did there. And I know women have made a lot of strides. I'm not saying that women should be oppressed or anything like that. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I think it's great that women are taking on leadership roles and have a lot more rights than they have, and they've done great things, and I applaud all that, and I support all that. But yet God put a desire in their heart for them to want to be ruled by their husband. In verse 17, to Adam he said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return. So God cursed the ground and made it a lot harder for man to work on the ground, and just basically there might have not been thorns or thistles up until that point. So huge. That's why they call this the fall of man. Like everything changed in chapter 3. Let's go on in verse 20. Adam named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all the living. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. So who was God talking to at that time? Could be the angels, it could be other, spiritual beings. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So there was a tree of life that was at man's disposal. That if Adam and Eve had eaten from that tree, you and I would never die. We would live forever. So that got taken out of the picture there. Verse 23, so the Lord God banished him from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he had been taken. After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword fashioned back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. So in essence, the wheels came off in chapter 3 for the entire history of mankind, and that's why we have to live, drive, and survive the way we do today, and work hard. So thank you, Adam and Eve. Appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the chapter. Thank you.